Good morning. So I'm going to go ahead and let Andrew Perlman, our dean, welcome you, and then I'll tell you some fun logistical things. But I will just point out Wi-Fi is on the back of your name tag.
Good morning, everyone. As David said, my name is Andy Perlman, and I have really the privilege and honor of serving as the Dean of the Law School. I have to run to the airport this morning, but I wanted to come in specially to be able to welcome you all because your work is so critically important, so special to me personally, but also special to us here at Suffolk Law. As many of you know, our commitment to legal innovation and technology is longstanding. We were the first law school in the country to create a legal innovation and technology concentration now more than 10 years ago. I like to imagine that if ChatGPT were around when we launched our legal innovation and technology concentration and we had asked it for the perfect oxymoron, it would have said legal innovation. Thankfully, all of us recognize in this room that unfortunately some of that is still true today, but it is much less true today than it was back then. And since that time, we have really focused on developing a series of initiatives that are helping to transform the way our students think about the delivery of legal services and have an enormous impact in our community. And there's really no greater example of that work than the amazing initiatives coming out of our Legal Innovation and Technology Lab, co-directed by David Colarusso and Quentin Stainhouse. I got to give them an enormous shout out for the impact that they are having, not only through their document assembly line project, which is now extended into a roughly 10 different states, but the impact that they're having on our students who are learning skills that traditionally were never taught in law school before. In addition to our Lit Lab, our Lit Center, now directed by Professor Diane O'Leary, is really helping us make great strides and an umbrella for many different projects that we have in legal innovation and technology. And then we also have the incomparable Gabe Tenenbaum I saw here, who has also been at the forefront of leading many of our innovative initiatives at the law school. So consistent with the spirit of innovation, we're not done. We want to keep evolving, and we are launching this year a new LLM in legal innovation and technology, which sounds appropriate. We could call it an LLM in LLMs, but we are really excited about what that new degree might be able to help us do in terms of extending the reach of our programs. And we're also really excited about our newest clinic, our partnership and collaboration with the American Arbitration Association to launch an online dispute resolution innovation clinic here in Massachusetts that hopefully will change the face of family law matters, make them much more accessible to the public in a way that we have never seen before, and potentially serve as a model for scaling in other jurisdictions as well. And we have a couple of guests from the AAA here, Jennifer Barnett, Vice President and Senior Counsel, and Greg Kachansky, Vice President of Thought Leadership, and we're really grateful to them for their partnership and support on this initiative. And I also want to give a big shout out to a couple of people who have helped to fund this conference. As you noticed, it's not a particularly expensive conference, and one of the reasons that is the case is because of the people who support us, one of whom is Julia Rogers of Hello Prenup, who generously supports our LitCon every year, as well as Iron Mountain, which made a generous contribution in honor of their immediately prior General Counsel, Deborah Marson. Also, big shout out to everyone who organized, David Quinton, Sam Glover, Joan Luke, and our amazing students. I'm so delighted that you're going to hear from them. Also want to give one final shout out to Mark Lauritsen, who is going to be receiving our first Legal Innovation Technology Impact Award for a career in making a difference in legal innovation technology. I brag that we've been doing this for 10, 11 years. Mark has been doing it for, I was about to say longer than I've been alive, though it's almost true, longer than I have been a lawyer. Which is 30 years at this point, and he is just a true pioneer, and I'm so glad we'll be able to honor him today. So I'll just close with this. When we started our legal innovation and technology work 11 or so years ago, we weren't sure what was going to be possible. We thought we might make a difference in the lives and careers of a few of our students, but to see what has happened since then, the growing community of folks who are in their own ways making a difference is extraordinarily inspiring. And as much as we have already achieved collectively, I'm really excited to see what comes next. So I welcome you once again to LitCon and being here. Have a great day.
All right, I really endorse the LLM and LLMs. I just think it's a great name. I don't know. I have to check when Mark started working. I might be able to say for all the time I've been alive. This is my sort of welcoming bit. As those of you who have been here, I've done this now for 6, 7 years, a long time. It seems like a long time, at least. And so this is usually where I share some. First, obviously, is just some of the logistical stuff. If you look at the back of your name tag, you should see a QR code there. That will get you to the agenda. Okay, so you can always tell where you are. You also should have seen some nice stickers in there. Hopefully, you'll wear those with pride. You also at your table should have a Law RPG Beginner's Handbook, which will come into play later in the day. Don't worry, you don't have to read it from cover to cover. Hopefully, you'll take it with you, and it'll be some engrossing reading. That also comes with a D20 dice there. And yes, I know some people, the dice distinction between singular and plural, there's actually a whole language lives, pronoun antecedent disagreement be darned, for example. Literally, though, I'm never going to let literally go. But dice, die, you have some dice on your table. So that is our logistical stuff. I'm going to also point out that we have a social media presence on Blue Sky, and that you might want to pop over there. If you are on Blue Sky, we have a list that we're putting together of people who are speaking and attending the conference, so DM us there, and we can add you to that list. Also, one of the things that's really interesting about Blue Sky is the extent to which you can choose your own timeline. So everyone's always talking about it like, oh, there are no algorithms. It's just reverse chronological. Well, one, I would point out reverse chronological is a timeline. It is an algorithm. It's a set of rules for how to display something. But also you can actually make your own feeds. And so we've curated a bunch of feeds there that you might find interesting. A bunch of law folks on Blue Sky. That last feed there is sort of my favorite. It's the AI and law feed. And so there you'll find a feed that has a bunch of lawyers and law adjacent folks talking about AI. And you can find that pinned on our social media there. All right, so this is now where I would normally have a inspirational tale. Last year, I talked about how our students made an app that helped stop an eviction physically in process. And what I'm trying to do is to set the stakes for today. Today, the stakes are big. It's not just playing with fun little toys. The stuff we do here really matters. This is my mother's slide rule, or one of my mother's slide rules, which is now my slide rule. And some of you may or may not know, I used to, in a life before this, I taught physics and astronomy. So I want to talk about some math real quick. You may recognize this equation. It's a little weird. Those two terms in the denominator really just come down to equal 1. That top term, that's exports to the US, and then imports from the US. And so why am I showing you this? Well, this is the new calculation for reciprocal tariffs. You take this number and you divide it by 2, and you get the number of the tariffs that are now being imposed by the current administration. Why do I bring this up here? Well, I bring this up here because economists look at that and they're like, what in the heck is that equation? And so a lot of people have been trying to figure out, where did those numbers come from? And it turns out there's an interesting possibility, because people started to notice that if you ask Gen AI tools how to impose a tariff, that's actually the equation they give you. But it's not something from literature anywhere. In fact, actually, if you go and you look and you ask ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, and Grok, they all give that sort of phrasing. And so there is at least an argument to be made that perhaps we are already seeing policy by AI. But there's something that and some of you might have picked up on this reporting, but there's something also really important here that I want to point out, is that all of these tools, although I couldn't tell for Grok because the screenshot there doesn't show all of it, at least 3 of the tools had some variation on the this is a horrible idea to use in practice. Um, so you have this interesting situation where you might have some use of an AI tool in a way that even the guardrails couldn't fix. And so I want us to remember that the stakes here are not just that we have to teach people how these tools work, especially if we're instructors or educators, but if we're practitioners, we have a responsibility, an ethical responsibility, not only to know how they work, but to use them ethically. And so the important thing here is we have these tools saying, hey, this is an oversimplification. Economists wouldn't like this. Don't take this too seriously. And so we've got to ask, what guardrails are in play to stop some of these things, these abuses from happening? And I would say that we've traditionally had a set of them. We've had norms, we've had rules, we've had laws. And we as a profession have an ethical obligation, not only to our clients, but to the law. And so I just want to, we're being in Boston. Anyone know who this is? His rotundity? John Adams. Not far from here, he defended the soldiers who were involved in the Boston Massacre, declaring for all the importance of a lawyer's ability to represent disfavored clients. And so we as a profession have an obligation, the tools we use, the things we do, to use them ethically, to act ethically. And I think that any gathering of attorneys in one place right now that does not at least acknowledge the fact that that is currently under attack is derelict in their ethical obligations. So I want to just take this time to frame it and say, that's not right, and to say that what we're doing here matters. I'll also point out, John Adams, great attorney, helped to draft the Constitution here in Massachusetts, the oldest continually operational Constitution. Also, kind of a not so great president. Alien sedition acts, heard of those? Yeah, you know, one of them's still on the books. I was going to, in my thing, my event later, I was going to choose a case, JGG v. Trump, which is the case with people being removed to El Salvador without due process. I was going to choose that as our game to play, and I'm not doing that, so you can all feel relieved. Okay, I don't have to worry about that. And I just want you to, I'm just going to share with you my thought process. Oh, I got to be careful. If I do that, well, I don't know the immigration status of all my students, and if they help out, will they get removed? Oh, do I have to worry about federal funding? Is not okay. We are not in normal times. Um, I just wanted to flag that, and I wanted to say that what we do here matters. And now we get to go on to talk about really upbeat, happy, fun things like access to justice and also technology and how that might help us move forward. So I'm going to let our director of the newly formed, I always got to get this right, it's the Lit Center, Diane O'Leary, to introduce our keynote speaker.